You are now watching The Meech.
Welcome to this very special episode of Mario Kart Origins. This series covered every Mario Kart game, meaning not just the mainline games, but the arcade games, tour, and home circuit as well. And in this episode, we'll be going over a Mario Kart game that was very recently discovered. I remember back in 2015, someone was able to find a pre-production Silver Mario amiibo, and along with that, prototypes have shown up from time to time of various Nintendo items. I've been on the lookout for prototypes since then, so I came up with a strategy. See, in the Washington State area, it isn't too uncommon to find Nintendo prototypes. This is because Nintendo of America is located in Redmond, Washington. About 5 years ago, a YouTuber by the name of Metal Jesus Rocks was able to find a North American Nintendo 64 DD. So I checked eBay and found a listing for a Mario Kart demo for the Nintendo 64, simply titled Super Mario Kart R. This could very well be a very early version of Mario Kart 64, and I can't wait to share it with all of you. So without further ado, here is Super Mario Kart R. Before we talk about the roster, I've noticed a few odd inconsistencies. The cartridge says Super Mario Kart R, but the title screen says Sonic R? Maybe it was lost in translation. If you've ever played Gyromite on the NES, you'll notice that it says Gyromite on the game cartridge itself, but it's simply called Robot Gyro, so it could be something like that. But what's also weird is the roster itself. Rather than Mario characters, we are greeted to a cast of Sonic characters. We have the mainstay Sonic characters like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and a few unlockable characters as well. Dr. Robotnik and Metal Sonic are unlockable characters, but the other unlockable characters are freaking weird. Egg Robo is a character, so he's essentially the Koopa Troopa of the Sonic universe. But then you have Metal Knuckles and Tails Doll. The Sonic universe had no shortage of characters, even in the mid to late 90s, so they could have included characters like Mighty and Ray, Knack the Weasel, or even Bark the Polar Bear, and gosh forbid, being the Dynamite. But the thing is, Metal Knuckles looks sick, and there's something funny about Tails Doll literally just being dragged around the track. I like these characters despite how weird they are. It's not like there's Pink Gold Amy, although after this video, I'm sure someone's gonna create it. You know Nintendo done goof when even Sonic characters are less cringy. You can even unlock Super Sonic, who has the best stats in the game. But what sets these characters apart from Mario Kart games is that they have special abilities. Sonic can double jump and has the fastest speed. Tails can fly. Knuckles can glide. But oddly, Amy is in a car. I get that Robotnik is since he's one tubby boy, but Amy? Shouldn't she be on feet like the rest? And oddly enough, she's slower than a turtle. Amy also can't jump either. Neither can Robotnik or Egg Robo, but they do have boosts, projectiles, stuff like that they can launch, and they can all float over water. Amy and Egg Robo are pretty much useless. You're better off playing as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, or pretty much any of the other characters. Don't even get me started on Super Sonic. I would say that the roster is good, but quite odd. The Tails doll will forever haunt my nightmares, but unfortunately, the roster is broken. Like I said before, characters like Egg Robo and Amy and Robotnik are just terrible, so you're better off just playing as pretty much anyone else. But when it comes to Super Sonic, he is so overpowered that it's insane. So much so that you will quite literally never win a race against him. If you're playing single player, that may be okay, but Super Sonic is way OP, so if you're playing multiplayer, please, set rules not to allow Super Sonic. The gameplay of Super Mario Kart R is unlike any other Mario Kart. That's because it appears to be a reboot of the series with a whole new cast of characters and new gameplay. Instead of kart racing, it's a foot race, which makes sense considering Sonic is the fastest thing alive and his friends aren't far behind. There are also no items in the traditional sense. Instead of bananas and green shells, we have shields that increase rings, speed, or act as magnets. But considering the style of gameplay of Super Mario Kart R, this makes sense. And by the style of gameplay, I mean whatever the developers glued together with Elmer's glue and earwax. First off, the game developers took the advice of having better controls as butter controls. In a good racing game, the D-pad or analog stick move the driver in line with the direction you're going. But here, you will often move too far in whatever direction you're trying to go with the slightest tilt of the analog stick. I have never seen such sloppy controls in my life. It would be easier to play Mario Kart with butter all over your hands and upside down while getting slapped in the face than playing this game. But to get more precise movement, You can use the left and right triggers to move more precisely to the left or right, and when you get used to that, the game controls. It doesn't control well, but it controls. But how about the actual racing? You ever remember when you were a kid and you scribbled on the wall? How about you take those scribbles and translate them into tracks? That'll be a great idea! Because the developers sure did that here. Tracks in racing games are supposed to be linear, with a few shortcuts and alternate paths, but most of these tracks are laid out like levels in 3D platform games, but more on that later. The goal of Super Mario Kart R isn't just getting first place. Rather, you will need to get first place along with a few collectibles. You ever played a racing game that requires you to backtrack? Yeah, me neither. That would be stupid, but this game requires that you do. Unless you've played the game before, you cannot get all the collectibles without backtracking. To unlock most characters, you need to collect all 5 Sonic tokens, but the track design is so convoluted that the placements can be so random, so you'll at least need to have one playthrough scouting the Sonic tokens, and the next getting them, and getting at least 3rd place. And let me tell you, with the bad controls, you will probably spend countless times trying to get them. Then there are the Chaos Emeralds. There are 7 to collect, and fortunately, they're more straightforward. All of them require going through a door that requires a set amount of rings, but there is one in a very confusing location. And speaking of rings, they are used to open doors, but can also be used for Egg Robo and Robotnik's projectiles. But guess what? The speed boosts that you see on the track make you lose 50 rings, so when you're going for a door, you will lose all your rings when you run into one of them. There's no way to know that either unless you played the game before. A door that says it would cost 50 rings for the speed boost would be nice, but no! Throwing off players is more fun. So far we have bad controls, tracks designed by 2-year-olds, annoying collectibles, and speed boosts that troll you. So how are the tracks? Well, let me tell you. How do you think the tracks are going to be when the gameplay is this bad? This is only the cherry on the crap sundae. I've touched on the track design being terrible, but why exactly is that? Think of it this way. Imagine if Super Mario 64 was transformed into a racing game. The levels would remain the same, except there would be a start and a finish line. That's exactly what Super Mario Kart R is like. The tracks are designed in a way if there were levels in a 3D platformer, because there are collectibles, and they're placed in areas like they would be in a 3D platformer. Meaning that these tracks are simply not fun at all to play. But let's take a look at the tracks. Super Mario Kart had 20 tracks, Mario Kart 64 had 16 tracks, Super Mario Kart R has a whopping 5. Not 5 cups, 5 tracks. But maybe it's a quality over quantity thing, right? Ah, who am I kidding? It's Super Mario Kart R. The first track is Resort Island. It's your typical Green Hill, Emerald Hill Zone stage, and for the most part, it's actually decent. There is one section that you have to jump on platforms near the water to get a Sonic token, but other than that, it's mostly straightforward. Definitely one of the better stages in the game. The next stage is Radical City. It's honestly more of a wasteland with a pinball machine than a city. The track is where things start getting crappy. The Sonic tokens are all over the place, and the track design is convoluted, but it shouldn't take too many playthroughs to get all the Sonic tokens and Chaos Emeralds. Now we're on to the real frustrating stuff. Regal Ruin has a bunch of hidden paths you will never see, and looking for Sonic tokens is an absolute nightmare. The track design is terrible, and this is only the beginning of the frustration. Reactive Factory. Wow, they were right! This stage does get a reaction out of me. A very angry reaction! The Sonic tokens aren't as sloppily placed as they are in Regal Ruin, but oh my gosh! You have all the Sonic tokens and boom! The game glitches and you fall in the water. Then you have to do it all over again. Yeah, doesn't that sound like fun? And trying to beat Metal Knuckles is a major pain as well. Use Sonic for this one, but the worst part is getting that damn second Chaos Emerald. You have to make such a specific turn in such a hidden and tight corner that you will likely never see it unless you hunt for it. I honestly thought there was only one Chaos Emerald in the track because of this. I hate Reactive Factory and Regal Ruin with a passion, and I honestly can't decide which is worse. But there is one more stage, Radiant Emerald, and oh boy, this stage is actually good? I can't believe it myself. And while maybe taking some inspiration from Rainbow Road, this is the only track that feels like a racetrack. There's no stupid Sonic tokens or Chaos Emeralds to worry about, it's just getting first place, and the race ends. But even if there were Sonic tokens, this stage is much more suited for them. This is the only stage I would consider good in the game, and even at that, it's not great. Just good. As I mentioned before, the focus on collectibles ruins these tracks. and the design of most of them are terrible too. In a good racing game like Crash Team Racing, there are collectibles, but with skill, you'll never have to backtrack to get them, and the tracks are designed like actual racetracks. But it does not work here, and even if they were simply racetracks with no collectibles, they still would be poorly designed. Radiant Emerald is good, Resort Island is decent, Radical City is borderline bad, and Regal Rune along with Reactive Factory are just awful. We have bad gameplay and bad tracks. Do I even want to get into the presentation? Maybe I should just stop here. Nope, I can do this. With terrible gameplay and tracks, I think it's fair to assume that the presentation would be terrible too. The presentation, my gosh, it is actually amazing. The presentation is the antithesis of the gameplay. The tracks look gorgeous. They are very detailed and colorful. Radiant Emerald being simply mesmerizing. They even have weather variations like snow, rain, nighttime, and sunsets, because Starchronics knows how much I like sunsets. That's something we never see in Mario Kart for the most part. The character models also look great, translating the original Sonic designs into 3D quite nicely. I don't understand how the game looks miles better than Mario Kart 64, but it just does. But the real shining emerald is the music. It is simply amazing. It goes for the 90s Eurotrance style, which I absolutely love. Guess that's some Mekonian blood in me. Have a listen to some of the tracks. Amazing, right? There is an option to turn off the vocals, but I'm not sure if you'd even want to. If the gameplay is a dumpster fire, then the presentation is a goldmine. When it comes to content, Super Mario Kart R has a standard campaign, multiplayer, and time attack. I've already beat the main campaign like a dead horse, so let's talk about the other modes. Time attack is basically time trials, only this time, there's 4 different play styles. Regular has you going through the stage just like you would in time trials. Reverse is the same thing, but the tracks are reversed. But why not have this part of the main campaign? Mario Kart games always have different racing classes, and reverse tracks could have served as another part of the campaign. Though to be honest, I wouldn't want to torture myself with the game any more than I already have. Then there's this balloon thing where you collect 5 balloons and aim to do it in the fastest time possible. I'd rather collect hearts, stars, and horseshoes, clovers, and blue moons. Finally, there's tag. You play a game of tag, and have to tag 4 other characters. This is actually a pretty fun mode, though I do find it weird that they die after you tag them. Then there's multiplayer. You can play with up to 4 other players, and it's essentially the same as the modes I covered before, but with more players. I actually like my friends, so I'd rather only torture myself instead of bring them in. There isn't a staggering amount of content, but I guess I'm okay with it. I'd rather have a bowl of gefilte fish than an entire jar. But there is no excuse for the game to only have 5 tracks. You could easily beat the game 100% in a few hours with a little bit of skill, so to say the least, it's still very lacking. So far we've established that Super Mario Kart R has a decent roster that is more broken than Amanda Bynes in 2013, putrid gameplay, garbage tracks in Radiant Emerald, a phenomenal presentation, and a lack of content. So what's the verdict? This game is pure garbage. I've played bad games, but I have never played a game this fundamentally broken and bad. The best way to describe this game is like an ice cream sundae that looks beautiful, but the ice cream is loaded with salt, the syrup is Marmite, and the cherry is a jawbreaker. It could have been good if it got rid of the collectibles for more traditional racing gameplay, but because of the game being designed like a 3D platform while being a racing game, it just doesn't work well at all. But my biggest question is, why is everything Sonic themed in a Mario Kart game? Let me look this up. After all, Google knows everything. Okay, so it turns out this game is a game known as Sonic R, released for the Sega Saturn in 1997. Real fitting because I'd like to live on Saturn after playing this. So there are only 1 of 2 situations that could have occurred. Either Sonic R was being developed for the Nintendo 64, or somebody pranked me. Uh-oh...
I have fooled you all.